What's up guys, I'm so glad to be back and making videos for you guys, and today we're going to talk about productivity in the long run, because sometimes you gotta see the big picture to save a lot of time and really be productive, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Today's video is about how to be more productive working on a computer, any kind of computer, and for my first tip I need to go back in time a little bit and tell a story. So, not too long ago I was doing an internship at a big tech company which was working with all sorts of clients, Apple, Google, Facebook. Basically it was a big mobile game, one of the biggest ones out there. And we had a tech lead who was responsible for basically everything and was my boss. And he knew pretty much everything there is in the company, but as soon as he started typing, he did this. The Eagle system, just using one finger, and that really killed my picture of him when I first saw him. So I was not able to take him seriously, and I was thinking, what the fuck is this guy doing? He was like 50 or something, and I realized he really knew everything there is, but it really made an unprofessional image to me at first glance. So my first tip would be to improve your typing. Practice faster typing, because that way you're gonna save so much time in the long run. You're gonna look so much more professional. It works at every computer there is, and I have a perfect website for you to practice. So my favorite website to practice touch typing, which is typing without looking at your keyboard, just using your 10 fingers, is called keybr.com. It's a very well designed website. You can pull it up at any computer. It's web based. And you can practice any key on the keyboard. You can choose your keyboard layout. And my favorite feature of all time has got to be the multiplayer mode. So you can run against other players who are also trying to type as fast as they can. Everyone gets the same kind of quote as a text to type, and whoever finishes first wins the race. And there's a nice little visualization where you get faster, your car gets faster with every word you type. So that was so much fun for me to try, and you see how you improve. And then now I'm at the point where I can basically beat everyone. It's cool. So basically this is a very fun way to practice your touch typing and improving your typing. It's going to help you so much in your entire life. So if you're still young, or at any point practically, you should really work on that. I pull it up once, twice a week, even though I'm pretty advanced already, and I can only recommend it to anyone. Next tip is to use keyboard shortcuts. Now I'm going to do separate videos for both Windows and Mac OS on this. So I remember being in a computer science class which was based on usability, so how easy it is to use a system. And we were talking about computers, keyboards and mouses, and that actually requires some seconds to switch between using your keyboard and your mouse. And that's something which is in the millisecond range, but it really adds up when you're doing it a lot, basically. So we were talking about how we're editing text in Microsoft Word, for example. And I was just saying, I just mark everything I want to delete with the mouse and then hit the delete key. And it was like, really? Aren't you guys all using shortcuts to select text you want to delete? Like Control Shift back or Control Shift left. And I was like baffled to see how many shortcuts there are and how much time they can save you. And that's when I really learned to always think about using a shortcut if I happen to do something a lot and on a regular basis. So if you're using a program, application, or even operating system, really check out shortcuts to save time, be it keyboard shortcuts or even trackpad or mouse shortcuts. So my third tip for how to be more productive working on a computer would be to switch operating system. Now this is a big step. Most people start out with using Windows or Mac OS, and you really gotta tailor your operating system to the needs and what you're doing. So because I was studying computer science at the university, I got to try each and every single operating system. So I have all three at home. This is the one I'm currently using, Mac OS, and I was using Windows when I started out and when I was studying computer science, because it just gave me accessibility to all kinds of programs. It's pretty much the default, which still are 18 or 90% of people are using. Let's say 90, I think 90 is more accurate. 90% Windows, then around 9% macOS and 1% Linux. And I just had the feeling that it's going to be so much easier to install a program, especially programming languages and environments, and to have the same kind of system that my teachers would be using. And that's why I decided to get a Windows laptop, even though I was thinking about switching to macOS already. And then when we were doing these usability design classes, for example, we would have macOS, Macs, and that's really the focus on usability. There's a lot of shortcuts on macOS which are not available on Windows, and it's very well built in quality. You don't want viruses on macOS, and a lot of experts and professionals prefer macOS nowadays. Then Windows is the system you want to pick if you want to do gaming, if you want to have accessibility, if you want to use the standard. And I've been really happy with using Windows 10 as well. I think ever since Windows 7 it was a pretty solid system. And then Linux, it's open source, and it's used a lot for server management. If you really want to do a lot of shell scripting and programming, Linux is for you. And it's nice to have a free license or open source license without paying anything. So I had an old computer which I was not really too happy with in terms of performance, so I just put Linux on there to try it out. And overall you can say all operating systems are kind of similar. I expected them to be a lot more different when I first tried them, but basically they all have Windows and Windows management in the same way, file system, you use a mouse and keyboard, basically just the minimizing and maximizing and closing windows. Those buttons are located at different points and look different, but otherwise it's pretty much the same. And I can just tell you can do the same kind of work. For example, if you're doing graphic design, you could be doing the same kind of work on Windows as macOS, but it's just a question of preference. Tip number 4 to be more productive working on any kind of computer is to choose the right setup. So it really depends on what you're doing. Me example, I like to take my computer with me and travel or edit on the go, or I don't know, go to a cafe and do something in there, which I wouldn't be able to do having a tower PC. So this pretty much, you know what I'm talking about. These Windows machines most of the time. And then you could also have a iMac, which is also stationary, like an all-in-one PC, which is hard to upgrade. Macs especially are hard to upgrade. And then you also gotta decide which type of screen setup you want. So if you're just using your laptop as it is, I prefer to be able to close it and then use USB-C or HDMI to connect to 1 or 2 displays. So at work I'm having 2 separate monitors. For myself, I think I would prefer to have one larger screen, extra wide, maybe curved, to be able to edit on a longer timeline. And it might be good for graphic design too, if some people want to do that. And then if you're having 2 separate screens, you usually always only focus on one. So I would have my main work on the left screen and then something else on the right screen. Some people only have like Spotify or the music on one screen. And I don't know, it's kind of a waste, but it's nice to separate things. But I think I would prefer a dual, a widescreen monitor, single monitor setup. Yeah, but it's always nice to be able to take your PC with you, but also have larger screen space if you connect it to screens at your desk, and then use a wireless keyboard and mouse. Then if you just want to do gaming and are using a headset, pro keyboard and a mouse pad, then there's really no point in using a laptop because you're sacrificing so much on performance and graphics. So in that case, I would really not want to get a gaming laptop like this. Really just a small percentage of people for which it makes sense to get a gaming laptop. So in that case, I would get a tower. And if you're doing, for example, graphic design, I always mention it, but it's something that has kind of special needs, then you would also want like an input device, or maybe just an iPad or a tablet to draw and do your design. So really keep in mind what are you going to use that system for before you buy it and choose the system. Next tip is to remove clutter and startup apps or bloatware. It's always good to remove clutter, especially bloatware, which is software that's already installed from the beginning when you buy your system. Basically just paid installs by companies that want people to try the products, like demo versions of Angry Birds or something, which you don't really want, but it's already there. And just by removing that, you're going to increase performance. You'll have a better overview of what you're actually using, especially removing startup apps. So on Windows, you can search for programs that are running whenever you boot up your system. And that's actually what slows down the boot up of your system. So for some people it takes 20-30 seconds, even a minute to start up their PC, and that's attributed a lot to startup apps. Basically some applications start up whenever you boot up your PC and you're not really using them every time. For example, Spotify has the default setting to start up when you start your machine. So even though you're not planning to listen to music, it's always going to start up when you boot your PC, and that's what's going to make it slower. So it's always a good idea to remove as many startup apps as you can and just start them manually if you want to use them. And now there's a lot more programs which are not as useful as Spotify, which are also startup apps. So if you're on Windows, just search for startup in the menu or click your way through to remove startup apps, and that can really have a major impact on performance in terms of booting up your system and decreasing that time. And then you're gonna save like 10, 15, 20 seconds every time you start your PC, which can be a lot if you do it every day. Last but not least, my final tip is to do regular backups. Now I got this super cool lazy rugged 4TB mini USB or USB-C hard drive, and it's very much a design object. It has a special look. You see it a lot used by photographers, editors and whatnot because it's really durable. It has insurance if you buy it, and they say you can run it over by a car and it still works. But mainly it's just for doing backups, and that really gives you a sense of safety in terms of getting your data back. And then also I'm having a 500TB hard drive, and if I'm doing a lot of videos recording these for you, then storage will fill up pretty quickly. So whenever I have old footage which I want to keep, I just transfer it to this hard drive. It's going to be there, I know it's going to be there, and I save a lot of storage and performance, because if your hard drive is always close to being full, performance is going to suffer a bit. And yeah, you're basically beating two birds with one stone. Is that the saying? Is that how the saying goes? I don't know. Killing two birds with one stone. That's it. You're basically killing two birds with one stone. So I can really recommend you guys do it. I don't do it as often as I wish I did, but it's like, I think everyone should own an external hard drive to do backups, even if it's just once every 3 months or 6 months, or just back up your pictures. So I don't know what's important to you. Yeah, but if you think about losing all your data and having to do something again, then that really is something that's going to make you more productive in that case. And it also gives you a sense of relief. And I should probably do another backup. Anyway, that's been it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed being back making these videos. I'm trying to keep them shorter and doing more of them to give you something new. every week, or yeah, let's see how I'm gonna do it. If you like this video, leave it a like down below. I'm gonna link keybr.com, the website for touch typing and practicing faster typing. And then also I'm gonna link the videos on Windows and macOS shortcuts once I release them. And hope you're having a nice day. That's been it for me today. See you all next time.